Alright, so this is part 2 of manual swapping Guillermo's IS300. In part 1, we discussed all the parts required to manual swap a IS300 along with which parts we're running. And in this video, we're going to be going more into depth of what's involved to take apart everything to manual swap a IS300. So we're going to start with the interior of the car so we're not dirty from working on the outside towards the inside. And we're going to start off by pulling the center console and taking the automatic shifter out. Then we're gonna move to pulling the automatic brake pedal and setting up everything to install the manual clutch pedal and brake pedal. And after that, we're gonna move towards the outside of the car by jacking it up and starting to disconnect everything to pull the transmission. After we pull the transmission, we'll pull the auto pilot bearing and start onto part 3, which is assembly. So yeah, I hope you guys like it.
So right now we're just gonna start by removing the center console. I'm gonna be taking off the shift knob obviously, and then removing the prindle. There's just a bunch of heating screws in order to take this off. Probably won't.
Alright, so we already pulled the surround off for the automatic shifter gear selector. All you have to do to remove this is just pull it up. There aren't any screws or anything. Once you get it out from pulling it up and releasing all these tabs, you'll notice that there are some plugs on the back. You just have to get through the felt here to get to the tab to get that one out. This one has no felt, you can just press the tab in, and this one is for the cigarette lighter, so you just have to pull it, there's no tabs. And then after that, we can move on to getting the prindle out. But before that, we're gonna undo some screws to get the center console out. Yeah, and then the hidden ones that were under the plug. And I was still going.
2 screws here.
You have to lift it up, I think, to get it.
Good crack at it. I just have to remove the top piece and then the middle piece. And then before that, you just have to take off the e-brake boot. Should just come out like that. And there you go. Take off the prindle. There's gonna be 4 bolts. So one right here, and then 2 on the front right here. You can kind of see them, but yeah. Go for it.
Out?
Yep. You're gonna have wires from here, and I think there's another one, but there's at least like a good like 4 or 5 of them in there. But yeah, you're just gonna take it off, and then finally this piece is just gonna be held by a pin. So you just take out the pin, and then you take out the little like washers that are on it, and then it should come right off from the top. So now from what you guys can see, it's literally just gutted in there. And we're gonna be moving on to the next step of finally jacking this thing up, since we already got everything on the inside done.
Pedals.
Oh, and the pedals, yeah.
Alright, so I did end up getting the auto pedal out. Instead of unbolting the entire bracket like I planned, I ended up still unbolting the auto ECU and pushing it to the side. But instead of undoing the bracket, I just undid the pin that holds the master to the arm and unbolted the long bolt and nut at the end, and then just undid it by undoing the plug and then pulling it out.
All right, so we got my car on jack stands, and we put wheels at the bottom, so that way, like, just security purposes. But now we're gonna drill into the firewall for the master cylinder, and we gotta get it in there. So we're gonna be using this to cut straight through right here, and hopefully all goes well.
Alright, so as you guys can see, it's nighttime now. We kind of fucked up and stripped one of the exhaust manifold bolts. So we've been struggling for a few hours, and we finally resorted to pulling off all the nuts on the header. And we're gonna attempt to pull the header out to get to the last bolt so we could cut it out. And hopefully that all works out.
Alright Dylan, so what needs to happen?
We need to cut the fucking bolt. and then we could pull the exhaust out, and then we're done for the day. Even though we planned on pulling the trans today, we fucked up by not. So basically we stripped that one bolt. We spent 3 hours trying to fix that one bolt with the extractor, or trying to get it out with the extractor. Finally gave up, decided to pull the manifold because, okay, let me back up a little bit. We thought the manifold was gonna be really difficult to pull because we thought it was gonna either snap the studs or strip because we were traumatized by that bolt. And then when we ended up doing it, they all just came out. So, who knows?
Can you see the bolt in here?
No, but these are the manifold bolts we had to undo to pull the header down a little bit, and that made us be able to get to this bolt right here that we're trying to cut out, because this one's stripped on both sides. So we're just going in right here and cutting it out.
So, all right. In total, how many hours do you guys think you have on this?
Okay, within the first hour and a half, we had the brake pedal out, we had the shifter out, everything was going smoothly. We were getting ready to cut the hole for the master cylinder. The drill didn't fit. So we were like, all right, let's pull the exhaust and do the drive shaft and pull the trans. The bolt stripped, and then we just been stuck. So that was a waste of a day.
We got it. No, look. Jay-Z got it.
Alright guys, today is day 2. Yesterday we ran into some inconveniences, you know, some strip bolts. But today we're back. We're going to be taking off the drive shaft right now. So there's going to be 4 bolts in the back, which are 14s. And then the center of the drive shaft is going to be 2 bolts that are 17s. Alright, so Dylan over there is trying to get these 14s out. It's going to be 4 right there. And then I'm going to be taking out these 2 17s right after. But we want to make sure that we keep this one on first. I mean, we do those first, so that way it doesn't fall right on our faces. So we do that one second.
Good plan.
There's so much play.
Here you go.
Here we go. Ready? Pull it out.
That's why you put the
Look
drink
at that bitch dripping. Alright, so me and Dylan basically just unbolted the drive shaft. We had to put the e-brake up and down just so we could rotate the drive shaft to get to all 4 bolts. And then after that, literally, you just unbolt the 17s in the middle that were holding the whole thing, and it literally slides right out. So you shouldn't have an issue with that. Big Daddy over here, Sugar Daddy Dylan. He got some new jack stands because I do not feel safe under these 3-ton jack stands, and my car is hella heavy, so he got new jack stands. We're just gonna swap them over, and then after that we're gonna get started with the drilling and then dropping the trans.
Dylan, bitch, you fucking scared the shit out of me. I was like, what the fuck is that?
Alright, Dylan's unplugging the battery right now. And then, so we're just gonna be unplugging all the connections here that on the trans. So there's one here. Let's see if I can get that out. Right now I'm trying to do the trans cooler lines. Before this I was doing the just the wiring. So hopefully these things aren't a pain in the ass. If we don't get these out, then we're just gonna have to cut them. Like if they end up stripping or some shit. But noisy ass 240s, man.
Alright, so while Vin and Guillermo are undoing the trans cooler lines by cutting it because they are stripped, Alex is drilling the firewall for the master cylinder. We are marking not the center of the opening, but a little bit more down because that's where the master actually sits. And we had to use a right angle drill because a normal drill did not fit.
Oh no!
Alex.
Oh no! Alex is in a pinch.
My key marker doesn't really work that good to actually mark things.
Yeah, the regular.
I got it. Wait. Yeah, let go.
All right, what we're gonna be doing right now is unbolting the flex plate and the torque converter from the actual like engine trans combo so we can pull the trans. We already undid the cooler lines and undid the dipstick and everything. So this is the last step we have to do before we can undo the bell housing bolts to pull the trans. To do that, what we need to do is undo these 14mm bolts right here on the flex plate through this little window. And if you try to undo this without holding the crank, the engine will try to turn over. So you need to have a separate person holding the crank bolt in the front of the engine, which is a 22mm. Basically hold this with the ratchet so the engine doesn't crank, and then someone else will break these bolts loose. Afterwards, you would spin the crank with the ratchet till you get another bolt and break it loose, and just keep repeating till you get them all out.
So we just did the flex plate, we took out the bolts, and now we're moving on to the actual bell housing bolts. And then right after that, we should be ready to drop the trans. So by the way, guys, after being distracted by the cat, I'm gonna be taking the dipstick out basically.
So I already started undoing the trans bolts on the bell housing, but I can't reach the top ones until we lower the trans cross members. So I did put the transmission jack already under the car. Now I'm gonna undo these 14 mils that hold the trans cross member in place, and then I'm gonna slowly start lowering the transmission jack until I could get to the top bolts. Wait a minute. No way. How shitty did this car feel? I could tell. I'll show you right now. Notice how I did not unbolt the trans mount? It's torn. So the trans wasn't even connected to the trans mount. Look at that. It's just torn.
Damn, all that low to second.
We took out the auto trans. It was all messed up because it was leaking, so that's why it's super dirty. And then this is the W58. If you guys want to see the size comparison, it's pretty much very close, but the W58 is a little bit shorter. But yeah, that's pretty much it for today, and then we're gonna keep going tomorrow, I guess. Put everything back together and hopefully get this thing rolling. I'm tired. Why are you still recording?
Because you gotta close the video. Part 2 is putting everything together. Or part 3 is putting everything together.
Well, that's why I said that. I was like, next one is closing.
Alright.